As we are just 9 days away from the 2025 NFL Draft being here, Joe Schoen and the New York Giants are continuing their evaluation on Shedeur Sanders as a private workout is going down this week. We're going to break that down as well as a lot of other reports about Shedeur and the New York Football Giants. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're going to be live for every single pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, and I don't want you to miss it. And I need your help. All the people that are not subscribed, please consider hitting that big red sub button and help us get to our goal of 71,000 subscribers. I'm calling on 300 diehard Giants fans to help us out. Well, maybe Shedeur Sanders to the New York Giants is not dead. You're watching Giants Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. Appreciate everybody for rolling in. As we got news last night that the New York Giants are planning a trip to Colorado this week to hold a final private workout with Shedeur. Rumors came out that it's going to be Shedeur's last private workout with the team, and it's with the Giants, the team that has been following him around the most this offseason. I want to go to a couple of quotes from Todd McShay before we get to quotes from Peter Schrager and a bunch of other stuff on Shedeur. Todd McShay put out a video on his YouTube channel prior to the news of Shedeur and the Giants having a private meeting. So keep that in mind when I read you this stuff right here. Todd McShay saying this: people are telling me don't close the book on Shedeur to the Giants at number 3. Also saying this about Abdul Carter meeting with the New England Patriots after he met with the New York Giants last week, saying the agent of Abdul Carter doesn't let him travel to Foxborough, Massachusetts, unless he thinks there's a chance he goes number 4. Adding this: the agent is getting the same information that I'm getting, that other teams are getting, that Shedeur to the Giants is still a possibility. So there is that from Todd McShay, who I believe is tapped in. I don't think he's just making stuff up at this point. McShay also saying this on Twitter. Recorded this before the news of the New York Giants brass flying to Boulder for one last look at Shedeur. It lines up precisely with the information I shared on today's show. The New York Giants are still considering Shedeur at number 3. It's worth mentioning, sometimes ownership can get involved with decisions like these. ... Just saying. I'm old enough to remember John Mara on Black Monday following the end of Week 18 of the NFL season saying the number one job of Joe Schoen this offseason is to find us our franchise quarterback. Is meddling Mara back? Look, there is a lot to unpack here with Shedeur and the Giants having this private workout. Let's start from the top. The Giants had someone at every single Colorado-Buffalo football game this season. That is well documented. It's also well documented that Joe Schoen went to a practice at Colorado this year to watch Travis Hunter and to watch Shedeur Sanders. We also know the New York Giants sent 13-plus staff members to the Colorado Football Showcase just about a week and a half ago. And the Giants have already had a top 30 visit with Shedeur Sanders. They brought him into town. We're going to read you a quote from Peter Schrager that they went out to dinner. Look, if you had to send 13 people to his pro day, you had to go to a top 30 visit, you went to the East-West Shrine Bowl, and you've been to practice and you went to every game, and you still need a private workout, that tells me, A, you may not love him, or B, you're trying to convince yourself that you love him, or C, there's a split in the Giants front office of do we want him or do we not. I know this for sure. The Giants are leaving no stone unturned, and that is what they should do. They need a quarterback. They should vet all of these quarterback prospects, extremely thoroughly. And they have. They brought multiple people in for top 30 visits. But they have spent more time on Shedeur Sanders by far compared to every other quarterback. We also saw the New York Giants do a similar thing last year. And they had a similar path traveled of scouting Shedeur like they did with J.J. McCarthy. J.J., before the NFL draft, don't remember if it was the Rich Eisen show or another show, but he said, no team has spent more time with me than the New York Giants, and he said, that is where I think I am going to go. And I remember last year where Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen got on John Mara's private plane, and they flew to Ann Arbor, Michigan on Easter Sunday, just a couple days before the NFL draft, and they had a private workout with him. Even though reports came out later on down the line, the New York Giants knew they were not going to draft J.J. McCarthy following his top 30 visit. But they still went out there and held a private workout. The Giants have had a top 30 visit with Shedeur, and they are doing a private workout. I'm not saying they're not going to draft him. I'm just presenting all the information and letting you know they have done this before. Couple of quote tweets and just a bunch of information out there. Mike Tannenbaum, former NFL executive, saying this: when this happens so late in the process, either there's a big disagreement in their building on their evaluation, or they're reacting to new information. Now, what could that new information be? I don't know. I also wanted to go to this tweet saying the only GM and head coach in attendance at the East-West Shrine Bowl was Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, plus about 20 team personnel members. This person is saying the pick will be Shedeur. At this stage of his career, Russell Wilson is not a winning NFL quarterback. If the Giants don't draft Sanders, then Schoen and Daboll will guarantee themselves of being fired. I don't know if I'm ready to say all that, but I will say this. This is not a smokescreen. The Giants aren't wasting their time 9 days away from the NFL draft by taking a trip to Colorado to do a final workout with Shedeur if they at least weren't still interested in drafting him. And I said on the video yesterday, I'm not ruling out the New York Giants picking Shedeur at number 3. And neither is Peter Schrager, who now works for ESPN and has a really good relationship with Joe Schoen. He said this on one of their shows this morning. There's something to this. Look, they have already sent 13 different people to the pro day at Colorado, meaning there's a GM, obviously, but a coaching staff and the front office personnel. Mind you, Brian Daboll said he doesn't do pro days, and then he went to Shedeur Sanders' pro day. They went to many of his games in person. Joe Schoen attended a Colorado practice in person. And I could tell you this private workout is not just for show. They want to do full due diligence on Shedeur Sanders. They brought him in for a private workout and his top 30 visit. The Giants took him out to dinner, and he had that experience also. They are getting to know Shedeur Sanders far more than they are getting to know a lot of other prospects in this draft, and I do not take it lightly. I don't either. And at this point, I've come to this conclusion. There's no reason not to hold a private workout. You've done all this work. Why stop on third base when the catcher is trying to track down a wild pitch? Like, finish the evaluation. Go all the way. Round third and slide into home and get the private workout done. You've done everything else. You've checked every other box. You would feel like an idiot if you passed on Shedeur and he went on to be great and you didn't have a private workout where maybe you could have saw he was great. Look, I do still think Shedeur Sanders is in play at number 3. I said it yesterday. I still think it's a possibility. Do I think he is the favorite to go number 1? Absolutely. Favorite to go number 3 to the Giants? Absolutely. Do I think he's the second favorite? I do not either. But I do think there are people inside the building that are banging the table for Joe Schoen to pick Shedeur Sanders. I just don't know if that's Joe Schoen. The odds makers out west, though, following the news of yesterday, they tweaked the betting odds a little bit. Yesterday, Shedeur Sanders was plus 600 to be the number 3 pick of the 2025 NFL Draft. After the news broke of him having a private workout with the New York Football Giants, his odds went from plus 600 to plus 440. Not a huge shift, but a shift nonetheless. And maybe there's some steam starting to pick up that he might be a Giant at number 3. Do you want that to happen? Do you want to see Shedeur Sanders be selected 3rd overall by the New York Giants? Type D for draft, type P for pass. I want to hear from all the real ones down in the comment section. We got to talk more about what Peter Schrager had to say, as well as more information about Shedeur and the Giants. First, though, I got to give a major shout-out to our proud sponsor, Game Time. The NFL season is right around the corner, and the best place to get the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed is with our proud sponsor, Game Time. And if you use our promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, you're going to get $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater events, and so much more. You get to see your seat view inside the app. You get to access your tickets from your phone. It's easy to resell your tickets if you don't want to go to the event anymore. I've used all of the ticketing apps out there. There are none better than Game Time. Playoff games for the Knicks are going on. You can get your tickets. Use that Game Time Picks feature and that all-in pricing feature. That way you lock yourself in to the best seats for the lowest price guaranteed. Go watch the Yankees. Go watch the Mets. There's concerts and theater events always going on in New York. And wherever you are, there's always somewhere you can go enjoy an event and get tickets. And the best place to do it is with our proud sponsor, Game Time. So download the app, create an account, use that promo code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off your first purchase where terms do apply. What time is it? It is game time. Support the show. Support the sponsor. Be a real one. I just want to be as transparent as I can here. And I think if you've been watching the show all off season long, I really haven't moved off this. I don't love the idea of picking Shedeur Sanders at number 3. I have a late to mid, more so late, day one grade on him. And I just think that the prospects that are on the board when the Giants are going to be on the clock are too good to pass up on to take a reach and a chance at pick number 3. I like Shedeur. I do. I think he can be a successful NFL quarterback. I just don't know if for a fact that he is. And when you go number 3 in the NFL draft, I need to have a very strong feeling that you are going to be a franchise-changing quarterback. Look, I think the Giants could pick him at number 3. But I think at this point, it's a little more likely that they pass on him at number 3 and they try to find a way to get back into round 1 to pick Shedeur Sanders. Peter Schrager saying this. Is he possibly the 3rd overall pick where they're sitting at talking about Shedeur? Maybe. Does this also mean they can maybe trade back into the 1st round if they take his teammate Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter with the 3rd pick? I would say that is more likely. So there's something to this. What's it mean? 3 overall, or maybe they are just interested in whether or not he drops in the draft. That could be a likely possibility as well. But the Giants are not wasting their time. 9 days from the draft, going and flying out to Boulder, Colorado. So the Giants could trade back into round 1. And you know what? I wouldn't hate that. And I can already hear people in the comments, but Marshall, if you love him, you just take him at 3. And if you don't love him, you don't pick him. Because if you did love him, you'd pick him at number 3. Blah, 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 blah. Wild thought here, guys. Like, holy shit, I hope you're sitting down. If not, find a chair. What if the Giants, what if they love Abdul Carter? And wait for it. And Shedeur Sanders. Oh, my God. Mind blown. What if you love Carter and Shedeur Sanders? Impossible, I know. You can only love one player in the NFL draft. No way you could do it. You can't try to get both players that you love. Are we serious? Like, if Joe Shane walks out of the NFL draft with Abdul Carter and Joe Shane, everyone is going to be clapping their hands saying, way to go, Joe. Way to go. He would win the NFL draft by doing that based off all the media. That's what they would say. We'd have to wait to see what happens on the football field, but he would be being applauded by everyone. Crazy thought, I know. You don't take quarterback 3, but then you could trade up to maybe pick 8 to go get him. It's almost like we saw an NFL team do that recently. I don't know. Maybe they play in Houston and their team mascot is named after the state they play in. I don't know. I've never seen it before. Never seen it. We'll go back to this quote from Joe Shane. Scared money? Don't make money. Joe Shane has never been afraid to make a big move. Joe Shane has never been afraid to call someone and set up his contingency plans. Whereas if maybe Shedeur Sanders is there at 8, maybe he already has a deal worked out with his buddy Dan Morgan of the Carolina Panthers, which we're going to do a video on later today. It comes down to this. Where do you have to come back into the 1st round to get him? Do the Saints take Shedeur Sanders at pick number 9? I know everybody thinks since Derek Carr may not play this year, they're going to pick Shedeur. I'll let you in on a little secret. Only bad organizations let 34-year-old quarterbacks dictate what they want to do in round 1 at the quarterback position. And maybe the Saints are just a bad organization. But you should not let your plans of taking Shedeur sit on the shoulders of Derek Carr in the great year of 2025. That's what bad organizations do. I would not be shocked if the Giants trade to pick number 8. The Panthers pick number 8. The Giants have made a big trade with the Panthers. Dan Morgan is the GM of the Panthers. He's one of Joe Shane's best friends. I think I remember in Hard Knocks, they said they attended each other's weddings or one of each other's weddings, and their families are friends, and they've gotten to know each other. They've known each other since the beginning of the 2000s. I don't know. We'll talk about Big Brain Shane later on today. Quickly, let's go over Shedeur. I think he's a good mental processor. I don't think he's a great mental processor. I think he's a good mental processor. I think he has a quick and clean release. I think he's able to, once he sees someone open, he's going to throw it. He is an accurate quarterback. Very accurate quarterback. That's probably his strongest skill. Toughness and accuracy. Good ball placement. He's able to put a ball in a catchable spot for his receiver. I think he throws a really nice catchable football. He's used to pressure in the form of from a defense and blitzing as well as playing under the bright lights. And he's able to manage pressure. Whereas if it's coming from the defense or under the bright lights, being Deion Sanders' son, going to Jackson State, going to Colorado, turning Colorado around, having more people around his press conference at the NFL Combine than anybody else by double. He's also able to recognize blitz as well. He had to play behind a bad offensive line. He had to think the game through. He's an underrated creator, I would say. Underrated in the sense of people compare him to Cam Ward and it's like, oh, he's not even close. He's really not that close, but just because you're comparing him to Cam Ward, who I think is one of the best improvisers we've seen in a couple of drafts, it's not fair. He can get outside the pocket. He can use his legs to make throws with his arm. He's got playmaking instincts. Like, just go watch the tape. When he's rolling to his right, he's a really good thrower. Doesn't throw as well rolling to his left because he has to get that shoulder turned around. He's got great mechanics, but sometimes a little bit, I would say, too structured in his mechanics. And he's used to the spotlight. Like, all these things I think he could be good at. I think he's ready to play in a city like New York, in a media market like New York, and thrive under pressure. But I just don't see many elite traits and skills about his game. Like, if I was talking to my friend who I would consider an extremely smart NFL draft talent evaluator, I asked, what is his best skill? What is his best trait? And he said, toughness in the pocket. And while that's awesome to have about your game, you probably don't want that being the number one thing about your game. I don't even really worry about the below average arm. I think he has enough arm to get it done. The thing I worry about is he's not the best anticipatory thrower. And at one point I thought he was. And I sat down with someone and they had me watch some film with him. And he can make anticipatory throws and he does at times, but he also likes to be really smart with the football and not put the ball in harm's way. And he's going to wait that extra tick to make sure that guy has a little bit of leverage and he's open. And then he's going to put the ball on him on time, on target. He also holds the ball too long. I know the offensive line was bad, and I worry did the bad offensive line create some bad habits for Shedeur Sanders. He likes to drift in the pocket, and if you do that in the NFL, you're pretty much telling your offensive tackles you got no shot to block those fast guys because they're Micah Parsons. He's just going to run forward, and he's going to run right to you. The college offense is a concern for me. Half of his throws are from 10 yards and below. Then another quarter of his throws are where he has no time to throw. So you can only really evaluate a quarter of his throws to 33% of his throws. And screen, 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 go ball. Screen, 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 go ball, deep over. And then some quick game stuff. He's a good athlete, and I think he's actually underrated in that department. If his last name was Johnson instead of Sanders, I think we would say he is a solid athlete. But compared to his pops, he didn't get the speed genes for Deion, that's for sure. And overall, I just don't know what the ceiling is. And I hate playing the ceiling game, but that's what you do when you're talking about picking a quarterback number 3 overall. I think Shedeur Sanders can be a franchise guy. I do. I think if he goes to the right place and he has a good offensive line and he has good weapons and he has a play caller that he could gel with, there is a world where he can be a good quarterback in this league. But I'm not banging the table saying, Shedeur Sanders is a franchise guy. If the Giants don't pick him at 3, I'm not watching anymore. Like, I'm not saying that. I think he could be a good NFL quarterback. I don't know that. And if I'm picking 3, I got to know that you're a franchise-changing guy. He can be, but I don't know that for sure. And that's enough pause for me to not take him at 3. But I like him. And I may even like him enough to trade up for him at number 8. If you want the Giants to draft Shedeur Sanders, hit that thumbs up icon. I know there's a lot of Shedeur fans that watch this channel. I like him. I do. And if he's a Giant, buy his jersey the day he's drafted, I am going to support him through and through. Hit that thumbs up icon and make sure you are following me on social media. I'm on Twitter. I'm on IG. We'll talk more about this on Twitter. More videos coming out on the channel today. So subscribe, turn those noties on, and let's go Big Blue.